Hello and welcome to this video about current. In your exam on your data sheet you'll get this equation which mentions the word current, and it says current equals Q, which is charge, divided by T for time. And this helps us remember what current is. Current is the rate of flow of electrons. And this helps us remember because it says current equals the charge divided by the time. So in other words, it means how much charge is flowing over time. And if you remember from circuits, it's the electrons, which sometimes you'll see depicted as an E, flowing around these metal conductors, these wires, that is carrying the charge, because these electrons are negatively charged. So we can think about the current as the rate of flow of electrons or the rate of flow of charge. So essentially we're talking about how many electrons flow past a certain point every second. So if we've got this basic setup here, let's put a component in this series circuit. So let's assume this is a lamp. And the piece of equipment that we use to measure current is called an ammeter. And that's the circuit symbol for an ammeter. And this is always put in series because you can kind of think of the ammeter as a little bit like a gate that all the electrons are travelling through. And you can imagine that inside that gate there is something counting the number of electrons that are going past every second. So you can think of it a bit like a turnstile at a football stadium or something like that, or the doors into a shop, counting the number of electrons flowing past every second, or, in other words, counting the charge that flows past every second. So in this equation they'll tell you what the letters are on the data sheet, but they don't tell you the units. You need to remember that current, which is weirdly depicted as this I, so don't try and guess what these are. They do say next to it on the data sheet what all the letters stand for. This I is measured in amps, which is a capital A. Charge is got a really funny unit, and it's one to remember. Charge is measured in a capital C, which stands for coulombs. So the units for charge are coulombs, and we measure time in seconds. So a couple key ones to perhaps remember that you may not have come across before. Current in amps, you've probably seen that throughout your Key Stage 3, Year 7, 8 and 9. But charge is measured in coulombs. That might be a new one to some of you. So in your exam they might ask you for a definition of current, which you can write as the rate of flow of electrons, or as we said, the rate of flow of charge. And if you can't remember that, just have a look at the question. Have a look at the equation, sorry. Current is the amount of charge over time. So how much charge flows in a certain time. And that might help you remember it. And they'll also expect you to remember that an ammeter is what measures current, and you'll need to remember the units for these and be able to put them in this equation. Okay, so here are a couple of questions for you to try. These are the type of questions that might come up on a foundation paper. Pause the video and have a go at them, and then come back and see if you get them right. So the first question then says how much current is flowing if 50 coulombs of charge is transferred in 5 seconds. So you write down the information we've got. We're asking for current, so we need to find I, and we're given Q, and we're given T. So we write down our equation, I equals Q divided by T, and then put our numbers in. I equals 50 coulombs of charge divided by 5 seconds, which means our current is 10 amps. For the second question, we've got how much current flows if 120 coulombs of charge flows in 1 minute. So again, it's always good practice to have a look at what we've got. We're asked for I. We have been given Q, and we've been given T. But hopefully you've noticed that T is in minutes and not seconds. So first we have to convert that to seconds. So 1 minute is 60 seconds. And then we put that into our equation. I equals Q divided by T. So I equals 120 coulombs divided by 60 seconds. So I equals 2 amps. So very well done if you got those correct. You need to remember the units for these three things. If you're doing foundation paper, you can stop there. Higher tier, if you keep listening, I'll give you some slightly more tricky questions. So I'll give you here a couple of questions to have a go at. Just a couple of tips. Remember to check that everything is in the correct units before you do the question. So have a go at these, perhaps pause the video and then come back and see if you got them correct. So for the first one then, it says how much charge moves if a current of 5 amps flows for 50 seconds. So we get our key points of the question. We then write down the equation, I equals Q divided by T. So this time it's asking for charge, so we need to rearrange the equation to make Q equals. So if we multiply both sides by T, Q equals I times T. So Q equals the current, which is 5, times by 50. So we end up with Q equals 250 coulombs, remembering that unit for charge. Second question below, we've got how much charge moves if a current of 10 milliamps flows for 2 seconds. So here hopefully you would have noticed that it says milliamps. So we again need this rearranged equation because we need to work out charge. So Q equals I times T. But this time we've got to do something else because we've got 10 milliamps, not 10 amps. So milli is the multiplier times 10 to the minus 3. So we need to divide by 1,000 to get our amps. So 10 divided by 1,000 would give us 0.01 amps. And we can now put this into our equation. So Q equals our current 0.01 amps multiplied by 2, which is our time from over here, and that will give us a charge of 0.02 coulombs. In our final question, we've got a mobile phone charger passes a current of 2.5 amps through a mobile phone battery for 2 hours. How much charge is transferred to the battery? So again, we need Q equals I times T, our rearranged equation, and we've got a current of 2.5 amps multiplied by our time. But again, here we've got time in hours when we need it in seconds. So let's work out over here first of all what 2 hours is in seconds. We need to do 2 hours multiplied by 60 minutes multiplied by 60 seconds, which will give us 7,200 seconds. So now we can put this time into our equation. So Q equals 2.5 times 7,200, and that will give us a total charge flowing into the mobile phone of 18,000 coulombs. Thanks very much for watching. If you found the video useful, then please press the like button below and feel free to subscribe.